Here we go. Fox News alert, the National Guard expanding its presence, now deploying across 28 states and Washington, D.C. It's all to support local law enforcement amid nationwide unrest. So what role will they play to maintain civility? Florida Congressman Michael Waltz is a colonel in the National Guard, also served as Green Beret, and was an assistant with former Vice President Cheney. So as National Guards person, you actually understand what it's like fighting overseas and also standing up here. What is your role, Michael Waltz?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I'm still serving as a colonel in the National Guard. I'll actually be in uniform this weekend in a planning role, not necessarily on the front lines of these riots. But the Guard, it's important to understand the Guard works for the governors. They will deploy in support, much like our mission to support border security. They will deploy in support of law enforcement to free up law enforcement with logistics, transportation, and other tasks so that law enforcement can be out there on the front line. That's the way it should work. The problem is many of these mayors and some governors are tying law enforcement's hands and not letting them do the job they need to do to restore law and order in this country. And I think the president's message to the governors and mayors is if you're not going to do the job, if you're not going to step up, he will, and he will have to, and he does have the authority to federalize the National Guard and then also send in active duty troops. Look, Brian, the rest of America has rights too. We all support the right to peaceful protest, but this rioting, looting, and violence has got to stop one way or another.
Mayor de Blasio has an opportunity to implement his National Guard, but he says that's dangerous. Listen.
No, we do not need, nor do we think it's wise for the National Guard to be in New York City. When outside armed forces go into communities, no good comes of it. A member of the Guard called up from any part of this state doesn't have that particular training, doesn't know our environment, but is carrying a loaded weapon. That is a dangerous scenario.
Congressman, your witness.
Yeah, Brian, that statement from Mayor de Blasio is ignorant and it's wrong. Number one, it perpetuates some kind of stereotype that these are a bunch of warmongers with machine guns coming from the outside. That's not the case. The thing with the National Guard is they're from the communities. They have day jobs, civilian jobs in those communities. There was a famous incident in the Baltimore riots where a rioter was yelling at a guardsman, "Go home," and he said, "I am home. I live right here." Number two, many of these Guard units are military police units that actually normally do policing duties on bases. They're absolutely trained for it. We also have civil affairs units. We train as a force for hurricanes, wildfires, natural disasters. It's an integral part of what the Guard trains for. So that is, you could tell he's never served. That is just a wrong and ignorant statement. And then finally, Brian, I do want to give a shout out to the Guard writ large. You know, they still have 40,000 soldiers with ongoing COVID support. They now have 20,000 doing these support to quell these riots. And then we still have international missions and the overseas missions that they're on rotation to do. So this is a huge stress on the force, but they will step up and do the job.
And not complain. And get this. They encourage people to protest, these governors. They tell the Guard to serve, but you can't go to a hair salon, you can't get a haircut, you can't buy a greeting card because it's too dangerous because of the pandemic we're in. Somebody's got to get their story straight because the economy's not going to survive and we're going to have more civil unrest than we can handle. Michael, thanks for what you continue to do for the country. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Brian.